Good evening. Welcome to another episode. We started calling them episodes now to make them sound more professional. Another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. This week, I can assure you that our guest is here. She's in the green room. She's ready and raring to go. So that is a lot of pressure off me this week. One of the things I was going to bring up is it's about within the hypnosis community, there's a big movement about being unique. And a lot of people rely on that reference and they think that their uniqueness is going to get them through hard times because, you know, if they're stand out, if they're the fastest, they're the quickest, they're the world's greatest, etc., they're going to get them through. And to be fair, the reality is when you think about it, being unique is not what's going to get you those bookings. It's about being compelling because your competition isn't another hypnotist. It isn't someone that's faster or slower or anything else like you. Your competition when a booker is looking at booking something is, you know, your competition is a band, a comedian, or any other different types of entertainment. And especially coming through these new times we're going to go into, that's going to be a very unusual field. Now, when I say about being unique, and there's not that many hypnotists that do step aside from other people, tonight's guest has some great stories, has a great story about how she ended up on stage. But to give her best introduction, I'm going to play you a small section of her show reel. I can't play it all because there's so many TV accolades on there. The whole show would be taken up by how much TV that this lady has had. So I'm going to play that now.
All yours. Have fun at it.
Good luck, Pat. Good luck. Немецкий шпиц, принцесса. Добрый день. Принцесса все-таки не одна, а в сопровождении Krystyna Lennon.
So, und jetzt passiert Außergewöhnliches. Das mal vorneweg. Princess, das ist der kleine Racker in...
Hello, ni hao.
So there you go, guys. Now, I don't think you can find many stage hypnotists, or performance hypnotists, or entertainers that have had that much TV in such a short space of time. So without further ado, please tap your keyboards, make lots of noise, and welcome to the Grant Talks Funny Bit show for Krystyna Lennon.
Hello.
Hi, Krystyna.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. Really good. Good. Yes. Yeah. I've got my drinks ready for it. I need it.
Sparkling water. Yeah, no, it's not even normal water. It's sparkling water. So for those guys that don't know who you are, which to be fair, within this community, everybody should know who you are, but we do have other people that are non-hypnotists that are watching. Correct me if I'm wrong on some of this stuff, but I mean, you started off predominantly as a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist that kind of developed a mindset technique that you chose to use on yourself, and then decided to do some stage stuff and then took over the world. Now, as a performing hypnotist, I know loads of guys, and we're terrible. Like stage hypnotists are the bitchiest people in the world. But you know, I know guys. We've been doing this for I've been doing this 15 years, and you know, I've done this and I've done that and I've done the other, and then like bam, Krystyna Lennon, Hypno Dog, took over the world. Done more TV than anybody that I know, and has smashed it. You know, you've done really well with it.
I think it's made me the most hated hypnotist.
Well, I don't know. There's a couple that I can think of going for that, but yeah, it's because we're such a close knit community, and because that's what I was saying about being unique. A lot of stage hypnotists, especially like us middle-aged old guys that have been performing for years, and we like to have those pictures taken, sleazing over younger girls doing hypnosis stuff. I mean, in the early days, I did it myself, but I hate it so much, that kind of image that we have, which is what was so refreshing about what you did and how you kind of portray. Because, again, we had Anthony Gailey on the show a couple of weeks ago, and that's very much a route that you're going down now as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Because, I mean, stage was never something I wanted to get into per se. It's not something that I've, I hear people and they're like, oh, I always wanted to be a stage hypnotist. It's never anything that I aspired to be. It was, as you say, I decided I was terrified of speaking publicly, terrified of speaking on a mic. So I thought, how can I challenge that? So the easiest way, and to launch my sort of hypnotherapy career, because I wanted to go full time instead of doing it on the side, I thought, right, I'm going to do a stage hypnosis show. How hard can it be? And it's easy. No, I learned, so it made me a 10 times better therapist doing a stage show. 100%.
It's changing a lot. There was for a while, there was a big divide between hypnotherapy and stage hypnotists. And stage hypnotists are the one that abuse all this stuff and make it look terrible. And hypnotherapists didn't like that, if you know what I mean. Over the past few years,
I'm not allowed to be in some of the associations connected with therapy because I do stage hypnosis. Yeah,
which is bizarre. But I get it as well because, again, especially in the UK, we did have quite a lot of guys that, in lieu of being entertaining, were shocking to try and get bookings. And, I turn up at some venues now and they go, oh, yeah, we've had an hypnotist before and they made them do this. And I'm like, well, we won't be doing that tonight. No. So tell me about your first show. That because there's a moment where you learn it, you read the books, you do the courses, you understand it, especially from a therapist point of view as well. And then there's that moment when you walk out on stage, and it's just Tell me about that.
It's I've never read a book on stage hypnosis for a start. I literally, Hugh Lennon, he had a show that was amazing and he was one of the biggest hypnotists of his time. I literally got a recording of his show and sat with a pen and paper and wrote down every word he said and copied it word for word. And he came to my first stage show and it was fucking awful. It was terrible. I went out and first of all, not many people turned up. There was about 45 people in the audience. So no, there wasn't. There was less than that. I think it was about 30. So I thought, shit, as soon as I get 15 people up, I'm going to be left with 15 people in the audience. And I came on to a like, oh shit. And I was terrible. Hugh was doing my sound. He hadn't done it for a while. So he put the induction music on and I was first of all, I was in the wings with my head in between my knees going, I'm going to pass out. And he introduced me. So I was like, shit, right, got to walk out. I've got a Diamante mic and I shook that much that it snagged all my top. I was just an absolute wreck. I did absolutely everything wrong. And as I say, he did loads of stuff wrong as well. He put the induction on and went straight into this Sergeant Major music while I was still inducing them. It was like, oh my God. So they all sort of jumped up in the middle of it. It was awful. And then they sort of were moving a bit. And then the first bit where I opened their eyes and was getting them to do something. And I'm always, to this day, I am nervous about this part of the show. They opened their eyes and I was like, right, I want you to count to number 10 and number 7 will not exist. And they all just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I was like, shit, now what do I do? So I put them back under, gave them the suggestion again, woke them up, same again. And it was like, after about 5 very painful minutes of me giving them a suggestion and them not responding to anything, I just said, I'm sorry, there appears to be a technical problem, and left. That was it. Yeah. Walked off stage. And the thing was, I had 6 shows booked. If I didn't, I would have never, ever done that again because it was the most painful, horrific thing I've ever done. Yeah. I've never had a show that bad again, thank God. It was awful.
I think that's the thing as well. I think, the people that get into this as a hobby, as a job, as a career, for whatever craziness they do that, those that do that first show with all the family and friends, with loads of support and a massive audience, and it goes down really well, those are the ones that I find that don't stick, because you build up this, oh, this is really good, this is easy. And then, 4 or 5 shows down the road, something just puts you on your ass, and you're like, oh my goodness me. I talked to someone says we're both looking and sounding great. So the drunk that are watching as well. You are the most fabulous hypnotist I know. But yeah, it's those times when you've done a show and it's not been what you want to be, and you've got a 4-hour drive home. You know, it plays with your head. So those that start with, oh, this could be the worst thing in the world, it kind of builds that thick skin, and you learn that, you know, if you can get through that, then you can do anything.
Yeah. And then you add to that, try and hypnotize people in a different language, in a different country, using a dog. It just adds so many layers to it that now just people in my office, it's like, phew, this is easy compared to what I've done.
Exactly. And it's one of those things as well that I believe that stage hypnosis or performance hypnosis, putting it out there, is one of the greatest ways to advertise your therapy business. There's no better showcase than doing the silly things on stage or on television and people going, wow. And there's no better signal of authority than doing loads of TV. So I can imagine everything that you've done does your therapy practice the absolute world of good.
To be honest, I was speaking to somebody about this today. I have had a grand total of 2 people come to me because they seen me on TV.
Yeah.
And I've done 44 TV shows to over 100 million people. And I've got 2 clients.
I think it's the indirectness of it as well. Somebody goes to your website, your social media, and then sees all those lists of TV. You're the expert. The choice is in the Leeds area of Yorkshire, which is the centre of the universe. Unless my sister's watching, then it's Manchester. You know, there is other hypnotherapists out there, but probably far few that have got those kind of accolades as well. So it would be remiss of me not to mention Britain's Got Talent. I'm sure you are sick to death of being asked about Britain's Got Talent, but from a hypnotist point of view, I know every year whilst it was going on, there was always a phone call or an email from someone kind of asking hypnotists to go on. And I know for a few years, both myself and a few others have all kind of gone no, because they're just going to make us look terrible. And to be fair, it's not that difficult to make me look terrible. Well, that's my fear. My fear is because there's so much of a reputation for middle-aged hypnotist and young. It looks tacky. It's easy to make it look that way. So I've always shied away from it. And then I heard that there was a hypnotist going on. I was kind of like, right, I'm going to watch this and let's see what they do. And then you came out, and it was like, wow, that's really good. And it was delivered in a really clever way, I thought. So I mean, I knew of Hugh from years ago. And when I saw the name, I was like, what? So yeah, it was.
It's funny because after I'd done the terrible show, Britain's Got Talent got in contact with me. Oh no, sorry, it was a show after that. They got in contact with me and said, "Would you come on Britain's Got Talent?" And I said, "Absolutely not," because I've not actually hypnotized anyone properly before that. It hadn't worked yet, so it was like, no way. And then they started coming back to me saying, "We'll give you a dressing room. We'll give you this, that, the other." Oh yeah, she is so cute. They started offering me different things, and it was like, right, either, you know, I take the opportunity or I don't. That, you know, it was the beginning of my career, and I didn't really care whether they made me look an idiot as much, because it wasn't a profession that I wanted to get into. So I just thought, oh, sod it, I'm a yes person. I'll make it work. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think because I was a bit diva-ish and made demands, then it kind of went my way. But having a dog, I think they saw the power of how big they could make it and how much publicity they could get from that. And I think that's the only TV show that's really cashed in on that. I think all the others have hit the mark, have missed the mark. They've not used the dog bit as much as they should at all.
So just now we're talking serious hypnosis stuff. Alana Jennings wants to know if Princess wants to have a Chihuahua boyfriend. So it's not about a serious hypnosis discussion now. It's about the dog.
She always upstages me, no matter what I do. She upstages me all the time.
I tried to train my cats to sit still. and so maybe we could do like a Grant and a Hypno cat thing. But the cats are just not interested whatsoever. I thought it was quite interesting after the show aired and did really well. There was quite a lot of American guys that all of a sudden were training their dogs to be hypno dogs, and they were all trying to push that hypno dog thing.
Do you know what? It's a USP, and anybody that now comes along with the dog that tries the hypno dog thing looks like a cheap, tacky copy, because anybody who searches hypno dog, they know it's me and my dog. So anybody copying that now just looks like, it's been done. No one else can do that.
And that's what it's about. Stage hypnosis, performance hypnosis especially, is about, yes, a lot of it is about you and putting your personality into it, but it is finding something that is so unique that it cuts through everything else. And a lot of guys, and a lot of hypnotists believe that what they do is unique and special because they do this and they touch there and they do this and they say this language pattern. That's called the blah, blah, blah protocol, and it's so unique. But to the general
shit about that.
Exactly. To the general public, they don't care about that. What they care about is like, oh my God, this dog just hypnotized Simon Cowell.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing that in your first week of work? That was my third show.
I panic sometimes at shows when something happens and I think, what about that? Could they misconstrue that? Could they think this? Could they think that? I would die 100 deaths if someone came backstage to me and went, Simon Cowell's just passed out. I'd be in the car. I'd be gone. I'd be like, my name's somebody else.
It was just, oh my God. Because like I'd done the thing, and obviously, you give people suggestion on stage. Before they leave stage, when you're a professional and you remember what you're supposed to do, like I am now, you remove suggestion before they wander off into the general public. But because I was such a rookie, it was like my third performance, I forgot to remove suggestion. So like the first three people, the first three people next to Ant and Dec believed that Ant and Dec were naked. So and you didn't see that, but when they went backstage, so I'm on stage, I'm getting judged and everything, and it's all going well. Go off stage. Simon Cowell comes up on stage as well. That was a disaster because I thought it was going to be David Williams. They were like, it'll be David Williams, don't worry, Simon Cowell never get up. And he gets up. It's like, shit, that was awful for starters. And it didn't work. So I was like, oh God, I'm going to be torn a new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I get 4 yeses, and then I go backstage and my manager comes running up and he goes, all the people that you hypnotized have literally been like wanting to fight Ant and Dec. And I was like, what? He was like, you didn't remove suggestions. So they've been saying, you shouldn't be out here naked. This is disgusting. My kids watch this program. So I'd caused this mass riot backstage. I was like, oh shit. So I was running then to remove suggestion because you could still hear them shouting in the corridor and they were being held by a security man. As I'm going to do that, this woman comes up and she goes, I need you back on stage. And I was like, right. She said, Simon Cowell's collapse. So I was just like, fucking hell. It's like when I first thought about it, what could possibly go wrong?
What could go?
It was like, I never dreamed it would be this. And I was like, oh shit. And then she was like, get your dog. I was like, okay. And went out and there he was like slumped on his desk and everything. And obviously that then it was leaked apparently.
Yes.
And then it went viral and I was I think it was the most act that I got the most press out of any act that's ever been on the show. It was the most viewed act. I think it beat the EastEnders Live that year.
Nice.
It was like the most viewed show ever. I wish I'd have got like some kind of commission on that.
Royalties, yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a disaster and it was a long day, but it ended up being fun.
Yeah. And it's great PR for their show and for you as an actor as well. I mean, I remember seeing it in all the papers and part of me was kind of thinking, oh my God, is this the death of stage hypnosis? Then it literally I'm going to be honest, my phone was ringing because of that.
Right, that's good.
Like,
glad yours won, mine won.
Well, because it's still out there in a fairly positive way. If it had been a middle-aged hypnotist sleazing over a 21-year-old girl, like it always seems to be put across, it looks tacky and terrible.
Yeah.
But stage hypnosis in a positive way, as long as nobody dies, I think does everybody really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So after Britain's Got Talent, you kind of took over the world then, and is your official title the world's? See, it pains me to say it.
Spit it out.
Your official title is the world's greatest hypnotist.
The world's best.
The world's best. That's it. So, which again, you cannot. When you're on that show, that's a fantastic international accolade as well.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I was asked to do America's Got Talent and the world's best the same year, and I'd kind of decided I wasn't going to do any more shows or anything with the dog, or any more shows at all. But an AGT came along, and I kind of and said no. But then when the world's best, it was like, and it was filmed. My son lives in LA, and I hadn't been over there to see him. So I thought it kind of like, I'll be able to go to LA, spend like a month in LA, see my son, and get that that title. So I thought, let's go out on that one. That's a good one. But I did then sneak in 2 TV shows after that because I was
going to say the money's not too terrible, I can imagine.
It's better than, well, I don't know. Sometimes it's better than a day's therapy, but not always.
Yeah. So what's the? I mean, you Simon Cowell collapsing. That must have been a scary moment. James Corden.
Yeah, he got bitten. Yeah, that wasn't great. He got bitten after the show. I did the world's best, and he came to interview me. And he sort of, like they all do, he was like, I'm going to be interviewing you. And he sat on the sofa and he was like, I'm going to be interviewing you. And then I'm going to look at the dog and I'm just going to fall asleep. So I was like, okay. I imagined, we're sat like that he would look at the dog and then fall backwards. But what he did was he fell, the dog's here right next to me. He fell on me. So Princess, obviously somebody's attacking me. So she just launches for him and bites him. So the whole scene got cut because the cameramen were literally like, the cameras were all going like this. They were all absolutely pissing themselves laughing at what had happened. So, and he stormed off in such a huff. And he didn't come back. He didn't redo it or anything. That was it.
He does look like he could be a bit of a diva. Just say a couple of those as well. Jason Nobynosis says good evening. And Jonathan Grice, who's a brilliant mentalist, actually, I've not seen for a very long time, says hi.
Hello.
And we've got Scott Fletcher, who's in a band. I think when we were talking about bad gigs, he had a pub gig straight after a wake, and they all cried all the way through. Yeah, I've had a few gigs like that as well.
You know what was funny? I did a TV show in China, and part of the sort of my induction is you're feeling thirsty, you have a drink, you're feeling tipsy, you're feeling a bit tipsy. All of a sudden they all started to go paler, and they were all like looked like they were going to throw up or pass out. And I was like, I had to turn to my interpreter, and I was like, and she was like, they don't feel well. So it was like a cultural thing. They don't drink that much. Yeah. So they just interpreted what I said and started to feel sick. So it was like, shit, had to turn that around. But God, as disasters go, I think one of the funniest disasters, I think my funny bits are more disasters than they are actual.
I always, whenever I meet other hypnotists, especially stage guys or guys that are new to it and kind of wanting some consultation stuff and moving forward a little bit, I always talk about all the stuff that's gone wrong.
That's
the time I had my pants pulled down on stage, because that's where you learn and that's where the fun is.
Yeah,
I've met a couple of hypnotists and they're all the same. I've never had a bad show. And I'm like, well, you're either not working enough or you're full of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say 90% of mine are bad shows, but that's what makes them funny. It's like, that one of the most memorable. Oh my God, I was doing Germany's Got Talent. And we were discussing, like, should I go on with the dog or do the same as Britain's Got Talent, where I go on, be the hypnotist, and then go, oh, I need my assistant kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they kept changing the mind. So one minute the dog was backstage and she was with me. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, go on your own. So I like ran backstage and I had David with me. You met David. And I literally gave him the dog. He had my handbag. And backstage, there's always a TV screen of what's going on. So I always like that recording so I can then watch it before it goes on TV. Yeah. So he stood there with my handbag, the dog, and he's filming the screen. Yeah. So I'm stood waiting to go on. I go on stage and I ask for my volunteers. But because they're all German, the person backstage must have thought I was asking for the dog. So he just pushed David on stage. So I'm stood there, like, you know, waiting for my volunteers to come up who'd gone missing anyway. And I just sensed somebody like stood behind me. And I turned around and David's there with my handbag, the dog, and my phone. Like, and I was just like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he just like passed me the dog. He went, walked back off. It was like, oh my God. So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Vicky Berry has just asked that, can we hypnotize anybody? Now, mine's, it's one of the most common questions we probably get asked is this. I always say, in a stage point of view, everybody can be hypnotized. I think there's 5% of the population, or someone will correct me on the numbers, no doubt. There's a small percentage of the population that can't be hypnotized, but everybody can be hypnotized. However, I can't hypnotize everybody. And
what I always say is I get 15 people up and I'm looking for the quickest people, because I don't want to spend in a hypnotherapy session. I might have half an hour to work with an awkward person. I'm not going to do that on stage because it's boring. No, so if I'm working for 5 minutes and I've got 5 great people, I'll send the rest back. I'll also send you back if you're boring or rude, or do you know what I mean? I'm looking for the 5 funniest people to keep up that go the deepest. Anyone else is surplus to requirements. They're just bums on seats.
There's a lot of ego, as you know, within our industry, and a lot of it is about this is the speed I get them done, and this is my ratio of people that came up versus those that came back, and it's like, it's not, when you're a performance hypnotist, it's not about not about the hypnosis. It's about the audience, whether on television or in the theatre or in the pub. It's about that audience being entertained.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
I always say the more you drink, the funnier it'll be. Do you know what I mean? It's true.
yeah, the logic there.
But yeah, it's, you know, I am a bit, my character is a bit laxy-daisy. I'm clumsy. I do things wrong. And I just have to work that into my act a lot of the time. You know, the stuff I've said and done on stage, I'm like, oh shit. And you just have to make a joke of it, because, you know, just how it is.
And that's the good thing about what we do. It is very much about, you know, your stage persona is an extension of yourself to some extent. Yeah. And too many people try to be too perfect on stage. And it has a negative effect on the show. It's someone trying to be a BBC One world news presenter when they just need to be who they are. Yeah. So we're going to show your clip in a moment. Great clip as well. I've had a look at it. It's one of my favorites. And what I'll do is I'll put you in the bottom of the screen and have that on. And if there's any bits you want to explain or talk to people whilst it's going ahead, by all means do that. And then after that, we're going to kind of pick you up on a couple of books. But you know what? It's been absolutely spot on so far. So I'm going to bring in, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to bring in your clip and have you in the bottom of the corner now. Well, that's what's supposed to happen. So.
Wrong way around. Yay.
You'll find that I am completely invisible and you will not be able to see me until I count to you again. On the count of 5, you'll be wide awake. But if I blow a whistle, you'll go back to your seat. If I blow a whistle, you will go back to your seat. On the count of 5, you will be wide awake. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Wide awake, wide awake.
The guy sat in the back row, I'd also given him the suggestion slightly before that a whistle would be a hot seat, so he reacts to that as well during this, which makes it more funny, I think. makes it as well. When you're doing this, you forget that when you're moving the seats that they can't see you, or they believe they can't see you, so that freaks them out as well. That was my daughter that come to the show because I've seen part of before.
Yeah, that was it's really good. What I like about it is what we seem to have swapped sides now, which is weird. I like the multi levels of it as well. Like you said, you've got the guy on the back. When I watched the clip earlier, I didn't know that this trigger was the whistle. It took me a few minutes to realize what was happening, if you know.
Yeah,
what I mean.
he was just like the set before that. It was the hot seat, so
yes.
I'd removed that suggestion, but obviously it hadn't removed for him.
Yeah.
So, but that again, that was a mistake, but it's a funny mistake, you know.
I think, I mean, I've been doing it a while, and even now, you can make a double extra stringent effort to make sure the suggestion is completely removed, but sometimes people still misunderstand, mishear it, and the suggestion. I was in a theatre and I'd finished. I'd packed up. I was on my way to the car. And somebody was showing somebody something on the phone, a video, and it was the video at the interval. So the music to make them come back and sit on the stage after the first half, they were playing that. And one of the people walked back through the theatre and sat back on the stage. And I'm like, oh, no. so I mean, it happens. But yeah, it's, what's this? We've got a question here. Oh, what's your favourite and least favourite part of your show?
That's my favorite. The invisible is my favorite. I think I know once I get to that bit, I'm in safe territory. I know that everything's going well, and it's good. And that is just, I mean, I've had people literally running off stage, hiding in the audience, climbing under seats, all sort of craziness. It's just, the only ab reaction I've had to that was when I did the Britain's Got Talent. I was messing about because we were backstage for like an hour, and I hypnotized somebody to do the invisible bit, and they started crying. But that was the only, I had to wake them up straight away. But yeah, so I think that, or the stoned, I get them stoned on a carrot. That's pretty funny as well. Yeah. And my least favorite is always the count to 10, because it's just like the hangover from when it went bad that time. So I'm always like, please count and miss the number 7 out. Once I'm past that point, I kind of like, it's a sigh of relief.
Yeah. I think, it's one of the only professions, or probably one of the kind of elements of performance where we don't know until that, like I said, that first or second test. And then you can go, I know who I've got now. I'm going to get paid now. It's brilliant. Jason has asked us, do you use music through all of your skits?
I use it through most. Obviously, there's some stuff I've done. Like I do like The Martian. I think some people do Chinese people, or what, you're speaking Chinese or whatever. I don't use music in that. But if I can use music, it just adds that extra element. Like that whole set is, I know exactly where I'm supposed to be for every little bit of it. So it's just so carefully orchestrated. I know that when that music comes on, the exact second that I come in with that lighter, I know do you know what I mean? It's the most confident I am on stage on that bit, because the music tells me what I'm doing. And like when I do the stoned, obviously I'll use Bob Marley, and then I'll wake them up and I'll say, in a minute, everyone in the audience is going to be a police officer. And then I'll put like the Bad Boys theme tunes, and the music gets a laugh as much as the actions.
It adds another element to it. But I mean, I always look at it the same way. I mean, a stage hypnotist, it's easy to kind of go, all I need is a microphone and I turn up and I do my thing. The reality is if Pink or I'm trying to think of another artist, Beyonce, if they need to have dancers, backing tracks, lights, music, and all that lot, then I need that. Because if they need it to be entertaining, and I'm not as entertaining as them, then I need it as well. So I think music is a great way of creating that mood. And a lot of songs can become suggestions in and of themselves as well. It's really good.
I've used smoke, I've used all sorts of different props. I used to do a bit where I'd get a guy and he'd be doing like these makeup tutorials, because I did a lot of unis. And he'd be doing a makeup tutorial. So I've got my makeup here, but like, I'm using this color palette and I'm going to be, and he'd be picking up my mascara and he'd be like, I think this is lipstick. But I'd put him live in like a beauty group. So all the people in the beauty group would be like, what the fuck is going on? But it just added a bit, of fun. And then I'd send the people to go watch him in the beauty group afterwards. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, he's live in the beauty coven, and they'd all be like, and they'd all be logging in and commenting. And all the people in the beauty group then would be like, what the hell? Why are people saying this is amazing when it's terrible? It's a man putting mascara on his teeth or something.
Bless him. So what's next for you? I know you've got a book out.
Yes, I have a book out. But what's next for me? I've retired from stage hypnosis. So that's it. I have done. I've got my title and I'm off. So you can all flood in with your dogs, cats, monkeys, whatever you want now, and do what you like. I don't care. Nobody will be sued. I mean, it was always about me working with people. That's where my passion lies. It always has been, always will be. And yes, I'm not saying I'll never do another show. And, if some production company comes forward and offers me enough money, then, I'll be out of retirement. But it's not, I've never, ever, ever actively looked to go on a TV show. I've done 44 and they've always come to me, which when you're on that footing, you can ask for more money. If you go to them, you're not going to get paid.
And I think there's something about your mindset when you chase the fame, when you're contacting them, it comes across, and your negotiation, your leverage just isn't there. So by the fact of you weren't that bothered is probably what created that, that momentum, that leverage you needed.
Yeah, the first question is always, how much is it and when is it? And then they'll go, oh, there isn't a budget. And I'll go, well, I'm not coming then. And then you get silence for a few days, in which case most people are probably like, actually, I'll do it. And I don't get back to them. until they come back to me and go, well, we've had a word and we could maybe give you. And it's like, okay. But yeah, so shows done, not really interested in doing shows very often. I'm more moving. Well, I have moved. I'm more corporate. So I work with teams and people to become the best version of themselves, which is what it's always been about. I also I'm a public speaker, but I'll use hypnosis in that. And I've done like awards ceremonies where I'll, do like a 20-minute hypnosis show or whatever within that. So,
didn't you hypnotize the Lord Mayor of Bradford?
Yeah, it was her first ever outing. And I couldn't believe it when she got on stage. And it was so funny because she had the gold necklace thing. And as she was up there, I suddenly thought, I know, I'm going to take it off of her and tell her that she did something with it or that she'd lost it. And I was about to do it and I just run out of time. But then I was told afterwards that there was a guy there with that was there to protect this thing. So if I'd have taken it off of her, I'd have probably had a bit of a
rugby tackle to the floor.
Yeah. Red spot just appearing on my head.
Fantastic. I always ask everyone, it doesn't have to be a hypnosis book, but 2 influential books about mindset that has helped you on your path to where you are now. The
first one is, I think the very first is Psycho-Cybernetics. It's it is, I think I've got it here somewhere. It is the very first ever book on self-image and mindset that was ever. Everything else was based upon that. The Secret, anything that's law of attraction, bullshit. It's just programming your mind properly. Do you know what I mean? It's just when opportunity meets preparation. That's law of attraction. And it's the Psycho-Cybernetics is the very, very first book. It's really old and it's quite difficult to get hold of, but you can get it free on YouTube because it's so old. It's no longer got the copyright laws.
Brilliant.
And the second book is probably Stephen Covey's Seven Habits.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think those 2 books really, really made a difference to me. And I've read a lot of books. I've never read any on stage hypnosis. Or on hypnosis itself.
There's a lot of, I always encourage people, don't necessarily read your hypnosis books, go get some sales books, because a lot of the techniques that you'll be using in language patterns, there's a lot more money gone into the development of sales language patterns, which can then be tweaked a little bit and will have a therapeutic approach to them. For those that are watching this on YouTube, there will be an Amazon affiliates link down below to those books. So,
I mean, that's 2 of my clients today were about constructing a sales call. It was like the language they use and everything else, because it's getting compliance from your client and everything. And I do a lot of work with salespeople, a lot of people. I'm programming mindsets and habits of success.
And it's about that, especially with if you're cold calling, that constant rejection and keeping those energy levels the same on call 1 as call 100. I'm sure you do it, and Anthony does it as well. That whole money doesn't motivate people. It's just it's a small element of it, but there's so much more of the psychology behind it, of who we see as ourselves, that push more through that. So fantastic. Well, Krystyna, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for turning up as well. But it's been absolutely fantastic, and hope to see you and David again soon as well.
Yes, cool. I'm sure you will. Thank you.
All right, cheers. Thank you very much.